Putin says the West encouraged acts of terror and sabotage by Kiev. Without providing any evidence, Vladimir Putin has accused Western intelligence agencies of aiding acts of terror and sabotage in Ukraine. His comments came during a call with his Security Council, where they were discussing ways to strengthen government authority in the 4 Ukrainian provinces that Russia annexed in September, a move that was widely condemned as illegal. Putin said, without providing details, that there are reasons to believe that the capabilities of third countries, Western special services, were involved in the preparation of acts of sabotage and terror attacks. Russian President Vladimir Putin allegedly has perfect replicas of his Kremlin office to avoid assassination attempts, according to the former bodyguard who made the claim. Ex-bodyguard Gleb Karakulov claims that Mr. Putin installed the replicas to throw off foreign intelligence and prevent any assassination attempts. Mr. Karakulov, 35, claims he has fled Russia because of the conflict in Ukraine. He previously worked as an engineer for the Presidential Communications Unit of the Federal Guard Service, FSO. Without providing any evidence, Vladimir Putin has accused Western intelligence agencies of aiding acts of terror and sabotage in Ukraine. His comments came during a call with his Security Council, where they were discussing ways to strengthen government authority in the 4 Ukrainian provinces that Russia annexed in September, a move that was widely condemned as illegal. Putin said, without providing details, there are reasons to believe that the capabilities of third countries, Western special services, have been involved in preparation of acts of sabotage and terror attacks. He claimed that Ukrainian shelling and acts of sabotage were carried out in the 4 provinces in an effort to frighten the local population, and that Russian authorities must act harshly and effectively to regain control. Today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Warsaw, where he announced that, similar to Poland's supply of battle tanks to Ukraine, his country would join a coalition of Western powers to provide warplanes to the country. While Ukraine and Poland stand shoulder to shoulder, the Ukrainian leader said in a speech on a square in Warsaw, Russia will not defeat Europe. Both Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart, Alexander Lukashenko, avoided discussing the conflict in Ukraine in their first public statements after meeting for 2 days in Moscow on Wednesday. Last week, Dmitry Peskov, a spokesman for the Kremlin, said that Putin and Lukashenko would talk about Lukashenko's demand for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. Putin announced last month that Russia would station nuclear tactical weapons in Belarus. Putin told Lukashenko, via comments broadcast on state television, that the two had accomplished a great deal as a result of their collaborative efforts in all spheres. Regarding our cooperation in the international arena and the joint resolution of questions concerning the security of our states, we will talk about all of this tomorrow. Moscow is Minsk's main political and economic ally. In February of 2022, Putin invaded Ukraine with the blessing of Belarusian President Lukashenko. Former Soviet republics Russia and Belarus have formally united into a single state called the Union State. Before the war, Russia's population was estimated at around 140 million, while Belarus's was only around 9 million. War crimes have been committed by Russia in Ukraine, and those responsible must be punished, Polish President Donald Tusk said on Wednesday during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Warsaw. Andrzej Duda stated that despite the fact that civilian facilities, hospitals, and kindergartens have been attacked in Ukraine, the country would not be intimidated. In case you missed it, Zelensky's visit strengthened ties with Poland despite the ongoing conflict with Russia. In spite of Russia's full-scale war against Kiev, which has reshaped international alliances, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky won new pledges of deeper cooperation on a state visit to Poland on Wednesday. President Andrzej Duda of Poland has announced that his country has given Ukraine 4 MiG-29 fighter jets, which were originally developed in the Soviet Union. He also mentioned that another 6 were in the works after the initial 4 were handed over. At a press conference alongside Duda, Zelensky declared that his government would extend a hearty welcome to Polish businesses interested in contributing to Ukraine's post-war rebuilding, which the World Bank estimates could cost as much as $411 billion. Later, he had a meeting with Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, during which he promised to sign agreements to advance infrastructure in Ukraine. During their joint visit to Poland, Zelensky and his wife were showered with military honors and praise for the country's crucial military support and for being a haven for Ukrainian refugees. Former Soviet satellite and current EU and NATO member Georgia feels particularly threatened by Russia and has been a leading advocate for aid to Kiev. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin described relations with the United States as being in deep crisis, because of America's leadership in rallying its allies to aid and arm Ukraine. Putin claimed that U.S. support for protests in Kiev in 2014 that ousted a pro-Kremlin president prompted Russia to send troops into Ukraine, at a ceremony where he accepted diplomatic credentials from ambassadors of 17 nations, including the U.S. Zelensky and Duda said they hoped to put an end to any lingering animosity between the Ukraine and Poland over World War II,